Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. The network saying in a statement, quote, "We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor." That was it. The surprise announcement coming just a week after Fox News settled a defamation lawsuit with Dominion Voting Systems for more than $750 million. That lawsuit revealed texts between Carlson and staffers where he said that he hated former President Trump despite saying other things on air. Text also showing him making disparaging comments about Fox executives. Joining us now on this is CNN senior media reporter Oliver Darcy and CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, who we should note left Fox News after being there for 12 years when Carlson said that January 6th was a false flag operation. Thank you both for being here. And Oliver, I think the question this morning that even Tucker may be asking himself is, why? Why now?
Yeah, why is the big question? And that's just unclear, to be honest, at this point in time. I think it's impossible to disconnect the decision for Fox News from the big Dominion settlement last week. I mean, that was a massive settlement, $787.5 million they had to pay out to Dominion. It's unclear exactly what part of that lawsuit, I think, factored into Carlson's ultimate firing at Fox News. There are a number of factors that could have factored in, but it's unclear exactly what was its undoing as related to that lawsuit. But we should keep in mind that the Murdochs had stood by Carlson through everything. I mean, he made white nationalist remarks on Fox News, they stood by him. He made anti-immigrant remarks, they stood by him. He promoted conspiracy theories about the COVID vaccines, they stood by him. He promoted conspiracy theories and trutherism about the January 6th attack, they stood by him. He sowed doubt about the 2020 election, and they stood by him. So something changed in their calculus, and perhaps it was just that the risk versus the reward calculation had altered, and he was just costing them too much problems and not offering enough reward, and they just decided maybe to just wipe their hands clean.
Yeah. Jonah, I mean, as someone who didn't stand by him, right? You've known him for 12 years. You were a contributor there to Fox News. I wonder what you think the final straw could have been.
Yeah, just to be clear, I knew Tucker. I've known Tucker for 25 years. I mean, I knew him long before he went to Fox News. Yeah, and but regardless, look, I think Oliver's right. I think that it's still kind of opaque and murky about what, there's a reason why we call the last straw, because normally straws don't break camels' backs, right? But it's all the stuff prior to the straw that makes it the decisive factor. I do think that there's, the LA Times, where I write a column, apparently it's the Abby Grossberg tapes or the Abby Grossberg lawsuit. Something about that is a big part of the decision. And also something about the Ray Epps episode on 60 Minutes, which sort of debunked Tucker's false flag operation stuff. And I think that one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that Tucker's shtick, where he called January 6th this false flag thing, where he leans into all these conspiracy theories, that's actually related to the Dominion suit in a sort of weird way, insofar as that whole idea of respecting the audience. If you follow that logic, where you say, well, we should tell the audience what it wants to hear, well, why go half-assed with that? Go all in, right? And that's what Tucker did, is rather than just say, oh, maybe there's something to this Dominion thing, he said, no. These deplorable people who stormed the Capitol, they're actually heroes and victims and martyrs. And he really force-fed and pandered to the audience what he thought it wanted to hear, not just this sort of half-measure, let's say Trump is got something going, maybe onto something with his Dominion stuff. He said, no. Let's take the worst things about Trump and January 6th and turn them into positives for us, because that's what the audience really wants to hear.
Well, and the thing about that is it's a really big audience, Oliver. I mean, he was one of the highest rated anchors that they had. And I think that's why, it's the front page of the New York Times and the Washington Post. It was your A1 in your newsletter. And so the question is, what does that look like going forward? Because obviously, I've heard from people in Trump world, they're stunned by this. He was a big, any conservative, if you wanted to be a successful Republican, you had to go on his show, essentially, people felt.
I think there are two questions about what's next. What's next for Fox News and what's next for the Republican Party moving forward. For Fox News...
What does it mean for the Republican Party, I think?
Well, I think for the Republican Party, you had Tucker Carlson, who really shaped the modern-day GOP, and he pushed it to the extremes. I mean, Tucker Carlson was not your average conservative. He made Sean Hannity looked fairly moderate on a lot of positions. He was an extremist, and he whipped the Republican Party in that direction. And so without him doing that, without GOP lawmakers fearing that if they didn't say the right thing, that Tucker Carlson would go on his 8 p.m. primetime perch and lash out at them, I think that really, it doesn't. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I think this is going to change the GOP in some way, and I think for Fox News, they have some problems as well, potentially, if Tucker Carlson decides to go somewhere else. They were really worried after the 2020 election about losing an audience to the smaller competitors like Newsmax. If Tucker Carlson somehow turns up on one of those channels or does his own thing, it's not, I mean, it would not be, unheard of that a significant chunk of his audience could follow him. So I think those are the two things I'm watching right now.
Jonah, as someone who's known Tucker for 25 years and worked at Fox for 12, no world in which this is the end of Tucker Carlson in the public eye on some media platform, maybe his own.
Yeah, I think it's a very real possibility he goes full Joe Rogan, creates his own thing, then he gets to do things on his terms. He will definitely want to get the last word, or at least get his version of events. He may be in need of lawyering up right now because of the Grossberg stuff. Who knows? But I think it's absolutely true. We haven't seen the last of Tucker Carlson. I do think it's important, on this Republican Party question. Recall that Ron DeSantis, one of the first missteps he had was he felt compelled to fill out Tucker Carlson's campaign questionnaire, and that's where he called, the Ukraine stuff a border dispute. None of these candidates, no GOP people are going to feel compelled to fill out, whoever replaces Tucker, his questionnaire.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Jonah, because it does show just the impact that he had. That what they did was they just reached out to all these candidates to ask for their position on Ukraine and then read them live on air, basically.
A lot of them didn't do it.
A major, and then they later retroactively did. A major moment for DeSantis there. We'll see what the impact of this looks like going forward. Jonah Goldberg, Oliver Darcy, thank you both.